Hey everyone, I'm Jen, and I'm a woman in long-term recovery. If you are new here, welcome. And if you are returning, you know you are loved. This video is, this video is a video I have tried to make for, this will be the fourth time now. But I feel like due to recent events that have been happening in our country, this is just really an important, powerful video for me right now. And I think maybe I might finally be ready. I sat down a couple times to make it myself. Then I sat down once with Jared. And I guess maybe it just wasn't time. And I think now is. So if you've been following me for a while, I've been on YouTube. It'll be 2 years this August, and taken some extended bouts of vacation, we'll say. And one happened in the fall of last year due to multiple reasons, but this was truly the solidifying reason. And I haven't felt comfortable enough to share it until now. And if you're going to come at me with any hate, you can keep that shit pushing, because this is not easy. And I hope that this helps one other woman. I am in my beginning stages of my 40s, and I'm okay with that. You know, I've done a lot in my life, and I'm lucky to even be in my 40s. I'm going to be 42 in October. Jared and I have gone back and forth several times on whether or not we wanted children of our own, biological children together. And the answer's always been yes, but it's never been the right time. We were very, very poor. We were in active addiction. Then we were incarcerated. Then we were coming home and starting over again. And when you are on the brink of age-wise, those things really play a part and made it so it just was never the right time for us. And we're both okay with that. I got pregnant unexpectedly. And I was very confused. He was very confused. We both didn't know what to do. I went to the doctor, found out the things, and then I started to not feel good. And obviously, I've been pregnant before. I know what I'm supposed to feel like. I did not feel like that. And I was scared. And I thought maybe I was being a little bit of a hypochondriac, or maybe I don't know. You know, a lot of emotions came up for me during this time frame, because I have never had a baby in the free world. I have never been pregnant. Very minimally, I was pregnant in the free world, but I still wasn't free because of parole and everything else. And I don't know. I just didn't know what was happening. I just didn't know. And then I started bleeding. And this is a trigger warning for anyone who has been through any type of miscarriage process before. Feel free to check out now. I'm totally okay with that. You can join us in the next one for sure. So I started to spot, and I didn't know what was going on. And I went to the emergency room, and they treated me terribly. Of course, I was seen by some man, and he asked me what my plans were, and I said, I really don't know yet. I'm really unsure. At this point, I don't even know how far along I am, what's going on. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know whether I was going to keep the baby, not keep the baby, but I didn't. And then to have that start to happen, really, I didn't know. And I had to continue on every day, take care of my daughter because I didn't want her to know, act like things were okay at work, still be a professional and a human in all the things, while being in severe amounts of pain and cramping constantly and bleeding all the time. And then it would stop and it'd be fine, and then it'd start, and it became around the holidays. So here we are now, a couple days before Christmas, and I go to the doctor. And I had a few days before that passed something, but I was unsure of what it was. So I had no choice but to take a picture of it so I could show my physician. So this way I could make sure I wasn't going to be harmed or, God forbid, hemorrhage out or die. And they told me, you are having a miscarriage, and at this rate, it would be less invasive just to continue on naturally. Be mindful of this, be mindful of that. If you get a fever, if you're experiencing severe pain, blah, 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 blah. But you should be through the worst of it now. And we don't want to go in and introduce anything in to make it worse. So basically, they didn't want to give me a DNC. And I don't know if anybody knows what a DNC is, but a DNC is for people who have had miscarriages. They go in and they just clean up. It's very similar to the same principle as an abortion, but the fetus has already passed through. Now, after that, I had to go through Christmas and my daughter's birthday and just act like my insides weren't falling out and everything was okay. The things moms do. And I made it through and I'm here and it's okay now. And, I think the worst part is when you go through all of this, they tell you your baby's due date. So you have to now that becomes ingrained in your head, right? And like I said, I really didn't know what I was going to do at that point. We didn't know what decision we were going to make, but I think everything happens for a reason. And I'm sure this happened for a reason too. And it is what it is. And I'm okay with that. But after that, you have this sudden surge of hormones and then they deplete. Then they deplete. And it's a real thing. And your mental health is like a roller coaster. You don't want to be touched. You don't want to be even looked at. You don't have any desire for anything. And then they put me on a specific kind of birth control to help with that process of everything that I just previously explained. And on top of it, then after that, so this process goes through. And then, I feel all these emotions and raw emotions and anger and disappointment and not understanding. You go through this gamut, right? And then I go and I speak to my gynecologist and she explains to me that I need to go on a different medication. I go in for my checkup a month or so later. And they're like, you need to go on a different kind of medication. And I'm like, why do I need to go on a different kind of medication? And they said, because we don't know enough about what this is going to do with your heart medication. And this could potentially cause blood clots and it can potentially kill you. And I need you to be really mindful if you start to get any pains in your legs, if you get extra heart pains that you normally don't have. So now I'm like, great. What else? Okay. So I talked to Jared and I get all my options about what kind of birth control would be best for me and someone my age and someone who is on heart medication and someone who does this and someone who does that. And I had to consult all these other, I had to speak to the cardiologist and I had to do this and I had to do that. And it was a hard time. It definitely was. And I had a lot of other personal things going on at the time with personal stuff. And I really learned who my friends were and who my friends weren't. That I will 100% say. Sarah she's a G through and through. She stepped up for me every step of the way. That woman was there for me, in a way no one's ever been there for me in my life. And her and Jared literally were life at that moment. And I couldn't trust anyone else to tell anyone else. I was scared. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. All these emotions, even though I did nothing wrong. Now maybe you guys will understand why I fight so hard for the rules and the laws that have just been changed on us and why I stand so strong in them. So I made a decision that I was going to get an IUD put in. And I did not know what I should have known because it's not talked about enough. The IUD I got is for 7 years. It's the Mirena. And I got that because it will stay with me into premenopause, and it will help my body acclimate better, and it will make my life easier having it. It is something that does not coincide with my heart medication. It is something that has very, very few side effects. But let me tell you, the absolute pain that you go through getting this tiny, tiny, tiny little piece inserted into your body is hell on earth. I had to call out for the rest of work because I was in so much pain. Like, Jared carried me into my bed. Like, the pain, the cramping, the bleeding, horrible. I wish I would have been previously warned. I probably would have made the same decision, but at least I would have went in and not been in so much shock. I made this decision to have this IUD inserted because it improved my mental health. It is straight hormone instead of whatever the hell, progesterone or whatever else the words were that she used. And for a woman my age with my health issues that I had, this was the safest and best method that I could possibly do for myself to keep me going so I could be the best mom. I could be the best wife. I could be the best advocate. I could be me. And this was not a decision that I made lightly, especially after how the last part of my year ended last year. This was a decision that Jared and I probably rehashed and overhashed and underhashed and every hash you could possibly think of to come up with the best solution that would work best for us as a family. And I am now, let's see. So I'm 4 months in with it. I still randomly get cramps from it. My menstrual cycle has 100% improved. I'm just starting. Jared and I were just talking about this the other day. I'm just starting to feel more like myself from last summer. And I genuinely think it is because of this. I do not take any mental health meds. I just deal with my anxiety the best way I know how to, which is kind of grit and go. I'm not saying that's a suggestible method for anyone. It's just how I choose to deal with it. My heart is starting to feel a little bit better. I knock on wood. I just noticed that in the last few weeks. I haven't really wanted to say anything because I don't want it to be a fluke. But yeah, I went through a very physically and mentally traumatic experience, and I did nothing wrong. If this was to happen now and I was to live somewhere else, I don't know what would happen. And I didn't just go on birth control just to go on birth control because I don't want babies. I went on birth control because my chemicals in my body were starting to fail me. My hormone level was starting to fail me. My serotonin and my dopamine were getting screwed up from the medication that I was on. And I had to do something to save myself because I was starting to lose me all over again. And this wasn't a decision that I just made and said, okay, if you or anyone you know are in this situation, please, please, please talk to them with compassion and lovingness and kindness because it fucking sucks. Nobody ever wants to be in this position. Nobody ever wants to have to make a decision like this. Nobody ever wants it to come to this. And for those of you who think women take this lightly and do this as a form of birth control, you clearly know nothing about women. Just having to anguish and go through the idea and the fact that I potentially might have to do this because I didn't know what we were going to do or where we were going to be with this or how it was going to work out was torture. We went back and forth 700 times. There were days I'm like, oh, this is it. And Jared was like, okay. And then there were other days I was like, nope, this isn't it. And he was like, okay. And, you know, I love him. I have to give him credit. He wanted me to be happy and he wanted me to be okay with whatever decision we made. And he supported me no matter what decision I made for me. Because sometimes you have to really consider whether or not you are mentally and physically strong enough to go through the traumatic event of having a child. In having a baby, I don't know why this is such a newsflash or why this is so bizarre to some people, but having a child is traumatic. Physically, mentally, emotionally, it is traumatic. Your body literally suffers trauma trying to push a human being out of you. And mentally and emotionally, the trauma, it just only starts because you then start to doubt yourself on every move you make for the rest of your days. I mean, that's literally being a parent in a nutshell. I think at the end of the day, our higher power made the right decision for us. Our higher power knew what we needed to do, knew what needed to be done. And I truly, truly feel that way. I think everything happens for a reason. And I think I'm here talking to you today about it because it needs to be said. You guys need to know you're not alone in these types of issues and decisions. And I just want you all to know that I go through this stuff too, right? I didn't get sober and start a new life and everything's perfect, because it's not. We still go through things. We still have problems. We still have heartache. We still have all of this. And I just thought it was really important to share this with you all. And please know you're not alone. If you're going through this, reach out. I will give you as much non-medical guidance and understanding and listen as much as I can. And I just want you guys to know you're not alone. I'm here too. Remember, we recover loudly, so those behind us do not suffer in silence. Bye, guys.